Shout out to the 90s, man. We really peaked in the 90s. Okay, turn it off. That's all we can afford. What's going on, you guys? Steve here, and let's react to some more DJ content.
Okay, that was good. Get ready to load promotion number 2 on the screen. Shannon, audio change and promo change, go. Nice, remember right after this we're going into gameplay. House number 2, go. Standby cameras for crowd shots. This is great, Shannon, with the track change. Let's get this room hyped up. You know what to do.
I think seeing stuff like this is really cool because it just highlights that there's so many different lanes you can take in music and just DJing in general. There's so much more to it than just DJing bars, clubs, festivals, corporate parties, and weddings. I think it's really awesome that she's highlighting her skills and just showing a completely different lane that you can take. Once upon a time, I was a season ticket holder for the Los Angeles Clippers. Shout out to DJ Dents, the in-house DJ for the Clippers. It was really cool to pull up to games early and kind of see his routines before the game started, when the players were shooting around. Yeah, I think this is really awesome. Shout out to her. How raves were promoted in the 90s. This should be interesting. New age at the Eclipse. It's a pretty cool flyer. What's all the stuff at the bottom? Ticket price, $15 tickets. It says all night. That's crazy. 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. Golly, what's going on? They're turning up in the UK. It looks like the names of the DJs are on the bottom, but they're pretty small. I think that's very interesting, and I'll explain why in a second. This is a New Year's Eve flyer, 1992. That was a good year. This one looks pretty cool. Okay. This is crazy. What was going on in the 90s? 12 hours of musical mayhem. They were raging back then. And another one. Wow. 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. I am perplexed. I had no idea it was going down like this. People nowadays make a whole ordeal out of afters and all those parties that go into the early mornings, but that kind of seemed commonplace back then. That's nuts. Shout out to the 90s, man. We really peaked in the 90s. Okay, my main observation with these flyers is that the name of the DJ wasn't the focus. That's interesting to me because nowadays, all that really matters is the name of the DJ, the name of the artist, the names on the flyer. In the US, lineup announcements are a cultural staple. People live for those. A lot of music fans nowadays just romanticize names on flyers and the idea of DJs. They don't really care about the music itself. They'll sit here and lie and argue about it, but they really don't. It's about the name. Social proof is more important now than it ever has been in human history. Maybe that's a hot take, but I genuinely believe that social media just exacerbated it and made everything about names. So it's interesting to see these flyers from a time where the music was the focus, not how famous you were. I really hope there comes a day where the people genuinely care about the music and not how famous the DJ is. They just show up to a random spot because they just want to have a good time. They're not just going because the person has a 250,000 followers on TikTok, or they were some funny meme or some pro athlete they liked from some other thing. Ultimately, that would give local and smaller musicians a fighting chance in the industry, and we would genuinely get better products, better music, and better experiences if people just champion quality, not just fame. I can talk about this all day, but yeah, it's interesting. Very cool. Comments. We're going to the comments. We're going to the comments right now. When I started this channel, I really wanted to make sure I don't gossip or hate on other people or critique routines and speak on what other people are doing. That's not what I want to do. That's not something I do in my normal life. But this is crazy. I'm not gonna hold you. This is nuts. I've said it before. I couldn't care less who wants to be a DJ. I don't care if you're famous, if you're local, if you have 1 billion followers or 2 followers. What does it matter to me? I only have a problem with stuff like this when people who've been experienced, people who've been putting in the work, people who've been trying, that are objectively more qualified, get snubbed, and people like this get propped up. Not because of merit, but because they have followers. That's my issue with it. In my personal experience, I've been rejected from so many opportunities. I've been told you need more followers, you need more views, you need more plays, you need to produce your own songs. Your songs need to chart here and you need to play here, but if you want to play at this spot, and we only book people who've been here, and boom, boom, boom. Like, there's all these hoops you have to jump through, and then you can literally see an Instagram model that doesn't check any of those boxes that gets bigger shots. I don't care if this pisses off bookers, promoters, and the powers that be. I'll always speak on this. It's pretty busted. I think propping up influencers and people who just have followers is very harmful to the culture. I think this just dilutes the scene. I just think it's really goofy. She could be an amazing person. I don't know. She could be genuinely nice. That's irrelevant though. I also think this hurts women within the scene too. There's a bunch of women in the scene who absolutely kill it. Great producers, great DJs, but people will see them getting chances and they'll just assume, oh, she must have did something to get that. How did she get ahead? Because she doesn't do this. She must not be working hard. I think that's horrible. But unfortunately, there's that stigma because of stuff like this. This isn't exclusive to women though. There's a bunch of dudes who are just random actors, models, celebrities, pro athletes, whatever, that are also monkey branching into DJing. So let me be very clear. This is not a gender thing. This is just, you know, an influencer celebrity thing. Music isn't about music anymore. It's about selling tickets and just getting attention. As an upcoming artist, would you rather have a Grammy or a big cosign? I would take a cosign over a Grammy any day, straight up. The reason why I would take a cosign over a Grammy is because we live in a society that's driven by social proof. Everybody acts like they're these special, rare individuals, but most people just follow the herd and just do what other people say is cool. If you look at a lot of the biggest artists in the scene right now, most of them have been stamped by bigger artists. They got signed by bigger artists. They went viral and everybody on the internet says they're cool and you get bullied if you say you don't like them. Just having people backing your stuff, pushing you forward, can create bigger opportunities and bigger fan bases. Grammys just aren't what they used to be. Mind you, that's one of the biggest achievements in the music industry and something to be very proud of if you do get to that level, but there's so much speculation about if it's just, if it's honorable, if the awards are rigged. Public perception has shifted when it comes to music awards. Oftentimes we see artists winning these awards that nobody has heard of before, and people just start speculating that they're plants, they bought it, they did something sketchy to get there, it's rigged, it's bogus, they faked it. So yeah, I would take a big cosign. Mind you, artist cosigns don't always work, but when they work, they work. Most people nowadays are driven by those cosigns. As much as people say, oh, just post every second of the day, just make good songs. That's not all it takes. You can get slingshot into the stratosphere with a good cosign.
The biggest mistake I see DJs make when they're trying to get a gig is also the most obvious one. They see a gig that they want to play and they reach out and say, hey, some variation of, here's who I am, I'd love to play for you sometime. You know, and sometimes that's just, hey, can I have a set? Other times it's a whole essay with their entire life and everything they've ever done and professing why they would love to play. It varies. But quite often it doesn't work. More often than not, it doesn't work. Here's why. Promoters are getting a million and one of those emails every single day, and there's nothing in it for the promoter. Quite often, it's just about getting to know a promoter. I mean, if you're asking for the gig straight away, it's very easy for me to ghost you. It's very easy for me to just say no. It's very easy for me to just bounce and say, you know, kill the conversation right there because you've asked straight away. If I rushed into a bar and asked somebody to marry me on the first spot, they can just say no, right? They're going to just say no. But if I rushed in and got them talking, maybe spoke to them over weeks and months, and then at the end of that asked them to marry me, maybe now it's more realistic. So instead of just pitching straight away and trying to get them to book you on the first email, just get them talking. Here's a really good way to do it. Reach out to a promoter and say, hey, I love your party, I've been paying attention, and I love what you're doing. I would love to play for you, but I know you've got loads of DJs hassling you for that, so I'm not going to do that. But I would like some help. Could you tell me, when you're looking for new acts, when you're finding new up-and-comers to book, where are you looking? Like, how are you finding them? Are they people that are already in the parties? Are they people that you're finding online? What do you look for? Give them a shortened version of that. You know, basically you're reaching out and asking for help, saying, hey, I'm not going to pitch you, but could you tell me, like, the acts that you're booking, how are they actually, how are you finding them? We find so many promoters actually reply to that. We've loads of people in the community that have tried that, and promoters, because it drops the wall. They don't feel like they're about to get pitched, and you've asked for help. And they'll usually share, they'll say, hey, here's how we find them, or here's what we look for, or here's what's important for us. And now you've got them talking.
Where do we even start with this? He claims that beating around the bush, just sparking a conversation with these people, asking them misguided questions is what gets the wall down. Can we talk about why people who book artists and DJs have a wall up to begin with? Why do they have so much apprehension? It's your job to sift through talent and fill the calendar. So why do you have that job if you don't want to be bothered. Can we talk about that? People are so quick to call DJs egotistical, narcissistic, entitled, every single name in the book, but why can't we talk about these bookers? A lot of them are just politicking and playing favorites. Playing God, straight up. Let's just call it what it is. Every rejection isn't valid. I'm not saying that DJs should just walk around with their hand out like, hey, book me, I'm fire, how dare you not book me? But at the same time, why is it so difficult to just get a foot in the door or just get a chance to be heard out? That's really strange to me. Nobody ever wants to take accountability for that or own that side of music, but that's a big aspect too. There was one spot I wanted to play for a really long time. I would go to every single event they had going on. I would shake hands, I would introduce myself to everybody around, I'd try to talk to these people. They wanted no part of the conversation, just off rip. Flimsy handshakes, they're looking over my head, they're looking past me, they're looking around for somebody that can pull them away from me. Some people in this industry just don't want to be bothered. It's not always that the DJs are entitled or antisocial. Maybe this method works, but I don't think sucking up to people and just, fingers crossed they take you serious is a good bet either. In theory, I do understand what he's saying and I do agree. Even in my own personal experience, sending emails to random people only worked out maybe 5% out of all the times I've done it over the years. Yeah, there's no guarantee that just showing up to a bunch of events and shaking hands and, sucking up and stuff is gonna work either. I don't subscribe to that. In my local scene, the DJs that I see in heavy rotation nowadays, they do it for free, they do it for cheap, they do it for drinks, they supply the promoters with party favors, if you know what I mean. There's some type of handshake deal with it. It could just be a college kid that they're finessing because he doesn't have the experience in the business side of it. It's pretty circumstantial. I just can't get down with the people who are like, oh, you should suck up and beat around the bush and rub their feet and give them back rub. Nah, bro, I'm just not jacking that. I'll be kind, polite, cordial, respectful. I'll ask you how you're doing and stuff like that, but I'm not sucking up to anybody. If that's what it takes, screw it. I asked my subscribers, what's the state of your local DJ and music scene? It looks like almost 50% of people said that their scene is pretty cliquey and tough to break into. Honestly, I was expecting more people to say that their scenes are active or kind of bouncing back since the pandemic. I guess not. It's also unfortunate how many people said their scenes are dead and toxic. For my local scene, I would say it's pretty cliquey. It's also kind of dying. I've said this before, but where I'm from, bars and clubs used to pop off on weekdays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. They'd have DJs ripping every day of the week. But when the pandemic hit, that kind of stopped. The pay rate for DJs went down. They started booking people who were willing to do it for free, do it for cheap, typically younger kids who didn't have much experience and were willing to take that just to get a foot in the door. It was at the expense of the music quality in that experience. A bunch of the DJs in my scene started going to the bigger cities in the surrounding area. People who went out to these spots, they followed suit. They started going to different cities. So a lot of the bars and clubs in my area, they either closed or they're not as big now. I'm curious to hear from the people who said their scenes are better than ever. Honestly, that's amazing if people feel that way, but I'm curious to know how old they are. I'm assuming if somebody who's DJing nowadays thinks it's perfectly fine, they've either pigeonholed themselves into a position of power or they're pretty new to it and they don't know how it was before. I don't know. Comment down below what you think. As always, I appreciate you guys and I'll catch you in the next one.